So let's get into it. Trust. So as David said, negotiation is the king of the life skills, right? So trust is the queen of the life skills. So learning who to trust and how to trust is a very, very important life skill that we all should learn, and we should have learned from childhood. So there's 3 ways that we can trust. We can trust. Sorry if I'm going too fast. I tend to feel really fast. But most of what I'm saying is in the notes, page 248 onwards. So either you will trust naively, you will trust wisely, or you will trust no one at all. And we all want to learn how to trust wisely. So I just want to quickly share with you a story of naive trust. So this is very early on when me and Stan just got married. We had some money that our relatives had given us. When we get married, Asian weddings, you get given a lot of money. And so we had some cash, right? And we were really excited. We thought, we want to get into a business. And so we just bumped into this couple at church. Was it a church, Stan?
Yeah.
Right, yes. And so, I don't know, we just got talking into a conversation, we got to know them a little bit, but not too much. And, we just totally trusted them. And it got to, because the husband was Chinese and his wife was Māori. So, yes, the husband being Chinese, we kind of connected a bit more because he was talking about business in China and stuff. So we got talking and we ended up like, hey, let's do business together. And long story short is that we put in $10,000. I know it's not a lot today, but back then, today it would be worth, 50 grand. And we partnered with him naively and we put in $10,000. And guess what came of that business? Zero, nothing. Yes, because we were naive, they were inexperienced, and we did not know how to learn how to trust wisely. We didn't take the time to get to know them. And what is your track record? What is your history? What skills and experience can you bring to the table? And all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so guess what? You learn from your failures, right? Failures are fatal if you learn from them. So yes, very early on, thank God we learned from that. So yes, we learned how to trust wisely from then on. And now what does it mean if you trust someone? Well, you're really trusting them with your heart, aren't you, in a relationship. You're trusting them with your vulnerability. You're trusting them with your decisions. And for you to be able to trust them, they've earned it, right? Well, if you wisely trust, because you feel safe. If they've earned your trust, you feel safe to share your life, share your decisions, and, be in partnership with them. So that's what trusting means, making yourself vulnerable to someone else's thoughts, feelings, and choices. And so that means that we do have to take the time to know the other person, but also, firstly, to know ourselves. And I can't emphasize it enough. Knowing yourself. Do you trust yourself too? Do you know how you feel? Do you know how to process your thoughts? Do you know what your weaknesses and strengths are? So some trusting is risky, and other situations, not so much, of course. So on one hand, say, if you find it very, very hard to trust with somebody who maybe believes that all my survival is up to me, I can't trust in anyone, then you might feel very lonely. You might feel very isolated. You might just feel like I am all on my own. I have to do things on my own because I can only trust me. And so for many reasons in childhood, you can grow up putting up many walls and you feel like, I can only trust me. I cannot trust anyone else. So that's on one end of the spectrum. And the other extreme of it is like, I trust everyone. Yeah. Especially my brothers and sisters in Christ, right? We do that, don't we? And so naive trust, just trusting in everyone and anyone because, I trust God and they're a brother or sister, so I'm a Christian, so I should trust everyone. And that's naive trust, right? Not allowing yourself to test people. Who can I trust? How can I trust them? So those are two very big questions. Who can I trust and how can I trust them? And that's what we need to learn. And so where do we lose this basic trust? Where do we learn this ability, not ability? We all didn't we learn this? Obviously from the home, where we grew up, how we were parented. Maybe your parents modeled that, like, don't trust anyone or trust everyone. And so you grew up with those mindsets, with the belief that you take on what your parents modeled for you. You take on the family culture and the home. Maybe there are family mottos telling you this is how you trust people, or this is how you don't trust people. So going through this course and becoming more self-aware, you want to revise all those conclusions and all those interpretations that you learned in childhood that worked to then, but they're not working for you now. And you know what's not working for you now, right? You can tell by the ruptures in your friendships and relationships and how you're mentally, emotionally not feeling well. Okay, so when we don't trust anyone, we build those emotional walls of defensiveness, and it leads to anxiety, alienation, and failure in our relationships. Trusting naively, you can get into the wrong kind of relationships. You can lose a lot of money. You can get sucked in by scams, all that kind of stuff. And we just can end up very hurt, very resentful, very bitter. And, it's a long road back to recovery when you have to work through tons of that stuff, tons of hurt and by people simply because you naively trusted people or you don't trust anyone at all. So let's learn how to trust wisely. Okay. So as I mentioned before, what does trusting wisely involve? 2 things. Learn how to trust and learn who is worthy of my trust. Who is worthy of my trust? How do I trust? Who is worthy of my trust? And in the book, it goes through 12 tips on how and who to trust, and I want to quickly just go through that. Okay, so, when you learn how to wisely trust, you can apply this in every area of your life. Not just trusting God, but you can extend it to the people in your relationships, the people in your workplace, pastors, leaders even, business partnerships, every person. So when you grow the skill, obviously, you take it with you everywhere you go. And you just apply it. You can apply this in every situation. Now, the thing is, there's hope, right? So you've broken trust with anyone. You can heal from that. And there's a way to do that, partly, and that is that you need to learn how to take a step back, take time to know people and learn who do you trust and how do you trust. So make people earn your trust. That's the thing with wise trust, taking the time and the discernment to let people earn your trust. Okay, so let's look at the 12 steps to these 12 tips that David has there in the manual, in our Living Wisdom manual. And I'll just quickly go through each one. So number 1, examine their track record. That's really important. Get to know what is their history. What kind of history? Is there a history of reliability, faithfulness, integrity? And what about the track record in relationships? How do they treat people? And what have they been like in previous situations? And I want to add here, what is the track record with money? Because money is tied very closely to your character. Money and spirituality are parallels and are tied very closely together. Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask the money question, because some of us like, money, I don't go there. That's just too personal. Well, if you don't go there, then you may leave a grey area for you to naively trust. Yes, so don't be afraid to ask those hard questions. Number 2, listen to how they talk about others. So you're learning the skill of listening is very, very important. Just listening, not talking, listening. So do they leak? Are they talking about other people where they should be keeping it a secret to themselves? Are they gossiping? Are they just loosely telling you things where they should be keeping it private to themselves? Here's a quote, I can keep a secret, but the people I tell never do. Right? Oh, you got that. That's good. Okay, number 3, what kind of people do they relate to? Birds of a feather flock together. So we naturally are magnets to other people like us, right? So who do they hang around? Are they dodgy people that they hang around when they present one side to you, but then you look at their friends and go, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Hang out with those, dodgy people. I just feel a bit uneasy there. So kind of follow through with those feelings. And the people that, so if they're a person of sound character, they're more likely to hang out with people of sound character because we hang out with people who have similar values and priorities to us. Number 4, are they willing to be transparent? Or do they resent being questioned? How do they react to being accountable for their actions? So this is very revealing, right? When you're asking a deeper question. And a proud heart resents questions. If you find that there is a strong reaction back, a very defensive reaction, that is a little orange flag. That's a like, okay, let me just, okay, red flag. That's right. The orange quickly jumped to a red flag. Yeah. So a proud heart, is very, very hard to get through to someone with a proud heart, and to think that they will change. You better step back and let them, earn your trust first. So look carefully at the reaction that you get. Number 5, are they forgiving? Forgiveness for me is, and for all of us, I believe is a Christ-like thing, isn't it? Like, to be a Christian means to be unlike Christ. I am forgiving. I let things go. And we try, right? We try not to hold grudges against those who oppose us, who stand up to us or wrong us. So if they are not forgiving to you, so they're not being forgiving to someone else, sooner or later they will also do that to you. Okay, number 6, look carefully at how they treat their family, their parents, their spouse, their children. So, you see you're doing a lot of listening, you're doing a lot of observing, you're on the quiet, you're like this stealth detective. The best thing I do, the best thing that you could do is to talk less and just be observing, just be listening. And that is how you learn discernment. So look around, pick up on, how are they talking to their mum, their dad, their sibling, their family member? Maybe they come to visit, maybe they drop by, and so just watch their reactions with them. Of course, everyone has baggage and everyone has history, but what you're looking for is, are these attitudes always consistent with them when the family member shows up, when there's a family situation? I mean, some people would just have a bad day, right? We all have bad days. Number 7, how do they view their stewardship as employees? So little things like, if respecting my boss, how they talk about their bosses and people in authority, that's really important. Even how they talk about their parents as well. We're all on the way. It's a journey, but particularly with employers, with bosses, respecting your bosses is really important. Like, honestly, if you have a healthy heart and you have a healthy experiences with authority, you're more likely to show respect to them, aren't you? You're more likely to talk about them respectfully. And do they take their work seriously? Do they, their attitudes about their work, their team members, and the work they do, even small things like they're very careful to be punctual and they turn up on time. Small things to bigger things. They're very important. So observe those things as well. We're not looking for anyone perfect, by the way. But these are good markers, aren't they? They're really good markers to learn. Number 8, are they blame shifters? Blaming other people. So when we blame other people, we're actually making them the problem, and us, we have no problems. It's about, they're just minimizing their own faults and making the faults of other people bigger. And then so blaming takes the responsibility off me, right? So if I blame someone, I am taking the responsibility off me and I'm putting onto them. It's their fault. If I see that someone else, it's always their problem and their fault, then I will be powerless to change. I will not change. So, make sure that are they blaming people all the time? That's a red flag too. So it's about ownership, taking responsibility for my wrong. What did I contribute to this? It's humility there too, isn't it? Okay, and number 9, what do they do with emotional pain? Are they running from it? Are they avoiding it? Are they filling that pain with other things? Or are they actually, maybe they are, their life is in a mess right now, maybe it's very chaotic, but they're seeking help. But they're like, I need help, I'm looking for help, I'm doing all I can to find healing and restoration. That's a good thing. Number 10, also, God gives us our gut reaction. There's a gut reaction in us, right? So that's part of the discerning. So follow your gut too sometimes. Check in with it as well. Do you get an uneasy or an uncomfortable feeling? Sometimes those initial feelings are right, but do check in with them. It's not a foolproof guide, but it should be checked out and it should be listened to. So if I get a feeling in my body I pay attention to it. Sometimes we get these feelings in our gut and our body, and it's just for us to listen to it and go, what is that I'm feeling? Why? How did this happen? Yeah, maybe my gut's telling me something. Maybe I should pray about this. Maybe I shouldn't give an answer. Maybe I shouldn't decide right now. Maybe I'll just step back and I'll just sit on this and I'll just think about it, and maybe I'll do some more research. See how you need to pause and follow the gut reaction, but pause and process it. Okay, number 11, who was it who introduced them as reliable? So whoever introduced them, are they themselves reliable? Are they themselves a good judge of character? Yeah, the same people who think themselves of a judge of character sometimes are not, but you only find that out later on. So, but if you're discerning, if you're holding back and you're observing and you're listening, you can often tell. And, sometimes we have to just learn by experience, right? Just by the sheer number of experiences I've had, I've learned from it, and now I can tell, oh, this looks like that was in my past. And sometimes the past is a good predictor, but always check in. Check in with maybe other people. Talk to other people who are experienced than you, who maybe cannot objectively speak in and look into that situation for you. Yeah, it always helps if you're kind of stuck and you go, what do you think of this? Submit it to someone you trust, someone who's experienced, and someone who you trust to speak into your life. Yeah. Number 12, the last point here. Trust takes time to build. So this is very key. Can you afford to be honest with them? Can you be so by the time you are honest, you've built this relationship, right? You've spent enough time with that person. They've got to know you, you've got to know them, and you've come to the place where you feel like you can go deeper and you can ask a deeper question. And so you can test the waters a little bit by just asking one question, maybe, just to dip your toe in there. And then just have a look at, how do they respond? Is it positive? Then if it's positive, every time you're honest with them, maybe giving a bit of feedback, maybe sharing a little bit of your opinion or view, and they're like, oh, they took it well. Or maybe then that's a predictor for me that, I can trust them with a bit more. I can share a little bit more of my heart. I can be a little bit more honest. And by the way, this is mutual, right? Because it's not just one way, you doing all the opening up. And depending on the situation you're in, like if it is a friendship on the same level, then, there must be some reciprocity. Is that the word? Yeah. Yes. Okay, so you do need to take the time to get to that place of trust. And also if they're offended, it tells you that they can't handle this right now, or maybe you can't handle it right now. So step back, take time to build that friendship if you want to go further. Okay, so 4 key points to remember, and this is a great truth coach that I love from Live in Wisdom. Everyone is trustworthy with some things, everyone, but no one is trustworthy in all things. So we would be very naive to think that this one person in my life, this one leader, this one person I look up to, I can trust them with everything. I go to them with everything. No, that's not right. So you want to hold that. All of us can be trusted with some things. None of us are experts and professionals and, great at everything. That's just not true. Okay, so I feel like the first key point is work on become trustworthy yourself. Because how do you know that you can trust someone else if you can't even trust yourself? Then your trust radar will be broken, won't it? A broken trust radar can't detect who is trustworthy, because I can't even tell if I can trust my feelings and my thoughts. So become a trustworthy person yourself. Number 2, trust is earned, and it's simply not just given. So never just give your trust to someone. You need to earn my trust, and these are small ways that you can do it. And I'll watch and observe if you keep your word, if you be trustworthy. Number 3, trust takes time to build. Yeah, you have to take the time. People who jump into relationships, who jump into contracts, you just land in a lot of hot water later on, and you are setting yourself up for disappointment and hurt. So patience is very key. And number 4, trust is not forgiveness. So let's not weld the two together and think that, of course, forgiveness is unconditional. We all know that, right? Forgiveness is also a process. Sometimes forgiveness is a choice, but often it's a journey, it's a process. It's going through those layers of pain and letting go, and then, yes, I come to that place where I can forgive, right? But trust is not conditional. Trust is not unconditional. Trust is conditional. Trust, you need to earn it. And finally, I'm just coming to the end now, guys. Thanks for listening. I know my speed is pretty fast, but it is all in your manual. Number 1, I've got 3 empowering questions for you. Number 1, why are you trying to trust somebody who obviously hasn't earned it and they don't want to earn it? Explore that. Why is that? Is there pressure on you, in you, to make this work? And where is this pressure coming from? Where is this pressure coming from? Number 2, why is forgiveness unconditional and trust conditional? This is for you to work out. If you were taught that trust and forgiveness are the same thing, which they are not. And number 3, again, everyone is trustworthy in some things, but no one is trustworthy in all things. What do you think about that?
Could you
Yes. Why is forgiveness unconditional and trust conditional? Yeah. Why is that? Okay, so I've come to the end. That's been really fast. Do you guys have any questions? Jerry?
In the beginning, when you said that money and spirituality are tied together, is that right?
Yes.
In what way is money and spirituality tied together? It can't be that, I was thinking it can't be about how much money they have, right? Because then it's like, how does it work?
The more wealthy you are, the more spiritual you are, maybe.
So how are they tied together?
Right, sorry, I should break this down. Good question. I should break down that spirituality is my relationship with God, my faith. So if I take God seriously, I know He loves me, I'm healed, I become healthier, and so the way I see money is healthier. So that's how the two are tied. So the more healthier you are in your soul, spiritually and emotionally, then it will flow into how you see money. Or at least you'll be like, oh, that's unhealthy. How do I get out of this debt, or how do I get out of these situations? So I can reflect more of what God's work in me has done. So do you know what I mean? Yeah.
A bit like that verse that says the love of money is the root of all evil. That's something, isn't it? Where your priorities go from the Lord to the money, what money represents. And it's that love and that commitment to that rather than to the Lord that sets up opportunities for wickedness or for sin or for whatever you like to call it.
That's right. So the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money is the root of all evil. That's where we get that religious weld. So separate it, please.
Yeah, can I just touch on that? Good question, Jerry. You know, like how the Bible actually says that if you can't be trusted with money, how can you be trusted with the heavenly treasures, right? I'm just paraphrasing it. And how I see it is that if I can't be trusted with money, how can God trust me with people?
Mm.
Does that make sense? Because it talks about accountability, it talks about responsibility. If I know how to take care of money, I guess like the Lord will actually give me the people so that I can look after them. It's just the same principle. Yeah.
Yep. No more questions? Oh, yes. Just
The big empowering questions at the end. How do you resolve those? Or like, okay, so do you have an example of what you would do to go through that process of there's someone in your life that maybe you don't trust, or just reading through these, I can think of someone, and you've got these empowering questions like, where is this pressure coming from? Why do I want to trust them? Like, is that a me thing I need to delve into, or?
Right, so are you referring to that first question?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Why are you trying to trust someone? Like, what is there an answer to that, or do you have an answer to that to help us?
Right.
With these people who aren't trustworthy.
That's a big question.
It is.
If you apply this question to one person, so try to apply these questions to something very specific. Maybe it's to this one person. And that is a good question to ask, isn't it? Because if you know that they have to earn my trust, but they haven't yet, but I'm still trusting them, so why am I doing that? Maybe one.
So you want to break it down. We're talking, I think the world has presented trust as something you're either trustworthy or you're not. It's a pole swing.
Yeah.
When we talk living wisdom, we're talking about multi-dimensional trust. So we're teasing out all the layers, and every time we tease out a layer, we take a step closer. So I go, okay, if I'm building a relationship with Helen, instead of saying, is she trustworthy or is she not, I'm saying, how does she show up in her finances? Oh, she's good with her money, I take a step forward.
Yeah.
How does she show up in the way that she speaks to her family? Maybe not so great, okay, take a step back. So you're not writing a person off and saying they're either trustworthy or they're not. You're coming back to that truth coach and you're saying, everybody's trustworthy somewhere and no one's trustworthy everywhere. However, when it comes to building your relationships, if you've got the skill down enough and you both have looked at the areas that you're trustworthy in and another person's trustworthy in, then you can start to examine who the healthiest people are to build your relationships with. So for me, Helen and Stan are friends because they demonstrate really good levels of trustworthiness across a lot of different areas in their lives. So that's ultimately how you want to be building relationships. But you've got to take some steps forward to examine what areas people are trustworthy in and what they're not in order to make those decisions. And so to answer that question of am I investing trust unwisely, you've first got to recognise what good stewardship of each of those areas look like. What does it look like to steward finances well? What does it look like to steward your body well? What does it look like to steward the way you communicate well? And when you can recognise that, you can know whether you're investing it wisely in people.
Could I just make a comment about where is the pressure coming from? In terms of why do I feel I need to trust this person? I wonder how much of that has got something to do with social expectations of people in various roles. This is my boss, therefore I'm expected to trust him. Or this is whatever the person is. They have this role and they're depicted as being responsible and reliable, so I feel a pressure to actually trust that person.